Hello everybody, I am Dr. Kavita Kusugal. Now I am discussing linguistic theories of translation. So in that, the Roman Jacobson, he is a theorist who writes essay on linguistic aspects of translation. Just a glimpse of this essay with some slides. When he begins his essay, he quotes Bertrand Russell. No one can understand the word cheese unless he has a non-linguistic acquaintance with cheese. So cheese we know all. And what is this non-linguistic acquaintance? Linguistic acquaintance is knowing something with language. But cheese we know beyond language. That is, we know cheese with our experience. We have seen cheese, we have tasted cheese. So it is not just linguistic experience, but the experience of cheese is beyond linguistic. So that's why this is not linguistic experience. No one can understand the word cheese unless he has a non-linguistic acquaintance. So what we may say if a person doesn't know cheese, how we are going to translate it? Maybe like a buttery item, like white color, creamy. So we don't know what exactly. Depends on the translator how he is going to translate it. But fortunately, every one of us know what exactly cheese is. We know, we have the experience of it. So there are some words in world which are linguistic experiences, which are, we know the lexical codes of those aspects. Cheese is the linguistic code or the lexical code given to that edible item. Now there are some linguistic acquaintances: ambrosia, nectar, gods. So we have never seen God. That is a linguistic acquaintance, that is a linguistic experience. Nectar we have not tasted. This is linguistic acquaintance. How linguistic acquaintance? Somebody has told us that nectar is this, that God is like this, that. We have heard the stories. So through those stories, the oral dictionaries, through the print dictionaries, we know these words. So these are the linguistic experiences. So everywhere, whether linguistic experience or non-linguistic experience, we have signs. This is semiotic fact. So each word is a semiotic fact against those who assign meaning not to the sign but to the thing itself. So cheese is a sign given to that edible item. So simplest and truest argument would be that nobody has ever smelled or tasted the meaning of cheese or apple. There is no signatum without signum. So when there is a something, some object is there, then only we can signify. Otherwise, if the signifier itself is not there, we cannot signify anything. So this is what is important. The object is important. Signifier and signified. Signified is very basic, very essential if there is to be a signifier. It is signatum and signum. For both linguists and the ordinary words using common people, the meaning of any linguistic sign is its translation into some further alternative sign, especially a sign in which it is more fully developed. So there is an example by Jacobson himself. The term bachelor is a linguistic sign the term bachelor, when we translate it to our kids, a new generation doesn't know what is bachelor, a child doesn't know what is bachelor. So how we are going to translate it? Unmarried man. So into the same language, we are translating the sign bachelor, that is using two other words of the same language. So it happens that so many times we take some more words from the same language or some phrases or sentences from the same language to translate or to interpret a word within the same language. So Jacobson finds out or locates three ways of interpreting a verbal sign into other signs of the same language, into another language or into another, and third is non-verbal system of symbols. So that those are to explain intralingual translation or rewording is an interpretation of verbal signs by means of other signs of the same language. The bachelor is translated as unmarried man. So more or less synonymous word or circumlocution. So this is, it happens that old English, which the modern English readers cannot understand, is translated into modern English. So that is intralingual translation. So it happens in any language of the world. A text of same language is translated into the same language. A text belonging to English of Old English or Medieval English is translated into the same English, the modern English. That is intralingual translation or rewording. Interlingual translation, which is very common throughout the world, we see it, which is more witnessed, that is interlingual translation or translation proper. It's an interpretation of verbal signs by means of some other language. Hindi to English, English to Hindi, Kannada to Marathi, Marathi to Kannada. So the translation of works, literary works, the translation of any biography, autobiography, any work from one language to another language is called interlingual translation. So here what happens, sometimes we don't get exact equivalence of words, exact codes between two languages, or messages, not for separate code units but for entire messages sometimes. So then I'll explain it later. The third one is intersemiotic translation. So this transmutation is an interpretation of verbal signs by means of signs of non-verbal sign systems. Shakespeare's play will take other playwrights like maybe Eliot's, Ibsen's, so other plays which are written plays. So a play which is written or published is one medium. It is in one code. It is in one sign. It is translated into another medium, that is visual media. A play played on stage. So it uses other signs, other symbols. So this is called intersemiotic translation. So each of these three ways of translation has its own challenges, limitations. So in all these three, the translators' focus or the effort is to find out equivalence in difference. two different languages, he has to find out the equal, the similar meaning word. Within the language Old English and New English, again the translator has to find out, search for equivalent words. So linguist or the translator acts as interpreter between two languages or the two ages or the two mediums. So what are the challenges? Idioms, phrases, cultural aspects. For example, kaka, kaki, mama, mummy. So all these words have only one common word in English, that is uncle. Paternal uncle, maternal uncle, only that much. But those words will not have this mama, mommy. So this cultural uniqueness is there in the words mama, mommy and kaka, kaki. These are the words which in Indian culture we use even when we don't have any blood relation. But how to translate these into English with a common word uncle? So it becomes very difficult. So these are the challenges an interpreter or a translator faces while translating two languages or two texts belonging to two different languages. Here we get the help of bilingual dictionaries. There are thousands of dictionaries. Differential bilingual grammar dictionaries. So what makes two languages different? That a translator has to find out. What are the common things that also a translator has to find out? A translator must have the knowledge of source language and the target language both. Source language is the language in which the original text is written. Target language is the language in which the translator is going to translate the work. So both the knowledge of the culture of both the languages is very important for a translator, because these are the cultural aspects. When he has to translate, he must know what are the cultural significances of the words which the character uses. So for example, sunrise and sunset. These are the words which we started using them when it was believed that the sun takes a circle of earth. Sun moves around the earth. Today, when we know that earth moves around sun, we are not stopped using sunrise and sunset, Suryodaya and Suryast. We are using these words even after the scientific invention that. Okay, so these are the traditional usages. Cultural languages like cultural terms like Tali, Mangala Sutra becomes very difficult, and the translator may need to explain it more using some more lines. To translate one word, the translator may need some lines, or sometimes he may have to need some footnote. The translator has to loan the word, borrow the word as it is. The Tali word or the Kumkum word is taken as it is from our Indian languages into English as it is, and the translator has to give footnote of those cultural aspects. So this is one way a translator can find out solution to these cultural aspects in translation. So these are some examples one can go through, that loan translations, loan words. Herculean task. We cannot use Herculean task as it is in Kannada or as it is in English, in Hindi or the local Indian languages. For Herculean task, we can take our own culturally rooted uh, word, that is Bhagirath Yatna, Bhagirath Prayatna. But every time we don't get similar uh, or same words, parallel words. So we may have to take bus. We don't have local bus, car, jeep. We have to borrow these words from English as it is. Um, so loan words. And grammatical aspect also. Each language has got its own structure, and each language has got its own grammatical uh, theory. For example, if we take gender, in Hindi, the pratyayas ka and ki. Every word has a gender. But in English, it is not like that. We cannot translate each gender as we translate in Hindi. So we have to observe this grammatical uniqueness, cultural uniqueness of each language. So again the same thing is repeated here. I hired a worker. So this is he has given the examples of Russian and other languages. We can see them in our Indian languages. Again here grammatical aspect of gender. Russian example is given. The feminine cannot designate a male person, nor the masculine specify a female. So what is female? Female is submissive. Female is very delicate. So these are all the aspects which explain female. And male, strong, this and that, or male person. So that is how in translation, traditional translation goes on. If you are translating something related to female, the footnote will be given like that. So here are some examples are given of Slavic and other languages regarding male and female, masculine and feminine. They change from language to language. One is grammatical aspect, another is cultural aspect. Two different ways they change. The translator's difficulty is in preserving the symbolism of genders, and the cognitive irrelevance of this difficulty appears to be the main topic of the earlier Slavic original work. So what symbolizes a gender? What symbolizes a female? What is the sign which symbolizes a male? River symbolizes female and mountain symbolizes male in most of the languages. It may differ in other languages. Here see masculine nouns as river and star in Greek. So river is masculine in Greek, but in Indian cultural river is feminine. So this is how we have to see culturally specific, unique aspects we have to observe, or translator has to observe. In poetry, translating a poetry, it is more different. It's different from translating essay translating biography, translating a story. So those are different, and poetry translating is different and more complex, because here not only words, not only cultural aspects, not only gender aspects, not only noun aspects and all. So here very different, or can say very essential aspects in poetry one has to observe is the rhythm, rhyme, meter. So translating poetry is more difficult than translating the other forms of literature. If a translator is a poet, maybe if he finds translating poetry easier, if a translator himself is a poet. So translator, Italian rhyming epigram, the translator is a betrayer. Answer the question Jacobson puts at the end of the essay. Translator of what messages? What are the messages a translator translates? Betrayer of what values? So any value he is transporting from one language to another language. What are the values a translator takes from one text to another text? In this is a journey. He is carrying one message, one value, one ideology from one text to another text. So in doing this, how much true he is, how much faithful he is, whatever efforts he puts into being faithful, is he successful? So in this context, Italian epigram says, translator is betrayer, because whatever efforts a translator puts, he tries to do something and sometimes it becomes something else. Not every time, but sometimes. In being faithful to the original text, sometimes unknowingly, translator is becoming a part of that text. His own ideologies, his own beliefs may be inserted into the translated work. That is why the translator is a betrayer. It may not be always true, but it is what Roman Jacobson says in his essay. Thank you.